Hello, Governor. We're going to talk about The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 2, Through the Valley. But first, let me tell you a little story. You've heard through some of my other episodes that I have this very, I don't have a relationship with my father at all. I was going to say estranged, but it's not even that. I don't have one. And when I was growing up, he was extremely abusive. Why? I'm not sure. I've heard stories about his upbringing being extremely abusive from both his mother and his father. Especially his mother, I believe. And when I was growing up, my father was not really involved in our family like that. He really didn't care, you know. My mom was involved with her boys, and she was very caring. He, on the other hand, was extremely abusive, mentally and emotionally. You know, and that was me, my brother, and my mother. You know, and thank God my mother is an extremely strong woman. And I really don't know how she put up with his shit. That's love for you. He was physically abusive. He would just fly off the handle. Before our relationship deteriorated to nothing, he said that he was bipolar. But you know, back in the day, there was no such thing as bipolar. You know, the closer you get to it is just like, he crazy. Now, him saying he was bipolar explains a lot about how he could go from hot to cold so fast. How he could switch on a dime just like that and be talking to you in your face and be like, hey, you know, you guys want to sit down and watch a movie? I'll get some popcorn. And he might suggest a movie and be like, no, Dad, we don't want to watch that. We want to watch Ghostbusters. And then just like that, he would go off and start yelling, screaming, throwing shit, cussing us out in multiple languages. And you just had to take it. I had no idea what the hell was going on. All that to say that once I hit preteens, the one thing that I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, was when I have kids, I'm never going to be like him. I had to break the cycle of violence within my family. However, I had to do it. Let's talk about it. We have Joel out on patrol with Dina, and we have Ellie out on patrol with Jesse. But what is most alarming is where we ended at the end of episode 1, Future Days, where we see Abby. Abby is shown back up. She's come back, assumingly from Seattle, 5 years later, still with revenge on her mind. Abby, for some reason, the Fireflies, what's left of the Fireflies, are trying to get Abby to return. They know this is a no-win proposition. They thought that Jackson was a small tent village or something like that, and that's where they got the report Joel was. When daylight broke and they saw it, they was like, oh, that is an entire city. There's no way we can get in there and get to Joel. Abby stumbles onto a snowy grave of seemingly some infected, but we heard from a report earlier that the infected are hiding underneath these little makeshift cemeteries, and they pop up out of the ground and go crazy. Well, that's exactly what happened to Abby, and she goes on a run, and she runs down to a small town or something, and it looks bad for her. She looks like she's about to die. And she's saved. One of the infected is trying to bite her. Somebody shoots it inside the head. What do you know? It's Joel. And Joel and Dina have horses, and they take Abby and they get out of there. And the infected are chasing them, and Abby comes up with the bright idea. She's like, hey, there's a station halfway up the mountain. We can go there. My friends are there. So they go. Just so happens at this time that that pipe that had all the weeds and stuff grown inside the pipe that Joel told little buddy last time to tear all that out, burn it. Well, little buddy wasn't paying attention. He broke the pipe, he pulled the weeds, and we find out it's that mycelial network. And the weeds said, oh, humans, food. And all those infected who were chasing after Joel and Dina and Abby, they all veered off and changed course. And they all ran at Jackson, all of them. And it was a lot. So Jackson, Tommy, and his wife and whoever was left in town had to prepare for war. They had to prepare for the worst. Meanwhile, Ellie and Jesse, who were hiding out the storm at a pharmacy, they hear the report that Joel and Dina never checked in, and they take off to go look for him. Meanwhile, the Firefly children have revealed themselves to Joel. And even though Joel just saved Abby's life, Abby's not having it. She's had this burning desire to kill Joel for 5+ years, and she is gonna stick to the plan. Ellie manages to find them and witnesses Abby finish Joel. And Ellie screams out that she is going to kill Abby. Meanwhile, things were not going so good in Jackson. However, Tommy and the rest of the gang were able to defeat the 1,000 or so infected that ran through and killed a bunch of people in Jackson. And the last scene we get is Dina and Ellie, it looks like, on horseback, riding back towards Jackson, which you see the smoke and the devastation in the distance, and them dragging a body behind them, which I'm assuming is Joel's. You know that I love my quotes, and funny enough, today I only have one. Now, I looked for some quotes, but a lot of the quotes they don't really seem like quotes. They seem like things that people said from a very personal point of view about stopping the cycle of abuse or violence in their family, in their home. So my particular quote is from a book called The Village Witch Doctor and Other Stories by Amos Tutuola. And he says, if we continue to pay bad for bad, then bad will never finish on this earth. When I heard that quote at first, when I read it, it seemed like saying, if you continue to do eye for eye, at some point everyone's gonna be blind. And that's what I saw in this episode. You know, there's a difference in wanting vengeance and justice. Now, was there really anything that Joel could have said in the moment? Because I know when we were watching doing the reaction, when we were watching the episode, Centel and I were watching it. So if you want to see the episode and our reaction, go to his page. It's in the description. Episode that this analysis is based on. We both wondered, why didn't Joel say more to save his own life? Why didn't he explain the situation? But he didn't. He got downright indignant. Told him, why don't y'all shut the F up? Just get on with it already. And I figured that was because he had been living with guilt for all those years. He did kill everybody in there. And okay, they were soldiers. They came for a job or whatever, the doctor was not a soldier, but the doctor was about to cut Ellie up into little bitty pieces so he could study it. He could study the little pieces. He could study Ellie's bones and body and flesh to see what made her immune. And Joel couldn't handle that, and he felt guilt. I don't think he really felt guilt for killing everyone. I think he felt guilt that Ellie was hopeful that even her death might help other people, because that was what was important. Not her own life, but it could help so many. I think she was hopeful that the fireflies were working on a cure. And Joel killed everybody and lied straight to her face that they wasn't working on a cure anymore. He had carried that guilt with him, and his entire relationship with Ellie deteriorated to pretty much the point of nothing. I know something about that. But in carrying all that guilt, they had 5 years, and Ellie went from 14 to about 19, and they barely spoke to each other. He tried, and she brushed him off. She was not interested. And we saw at the end of this that one of the more recent media therapy deep dives I did talked about not waiting until it's too late. Abby had beat Joel down so bad he couldn't even speak and tell Ellie he loved her, he's sorry. He couldn't barely even get words out. And Ellie was held down on the floor, crying, begging Abby, please don't do this. Because even at the end of the day, as mad as she was at him, that was her father, her surrogate father. As mad as she was, she still recognized, a day late and a dollar short, but she recognized how much he had sacrificed for her, how much he loved her. I said in the last video, Joel would kill for her. He did. He killed a lot of people for her. And he would die for her. He almost did. And as a matter of fact, because he didn't know that the agenda that the Fireflies had, and they didn't realize maybe that Ellie was who she was, he wanted them to end it, because if their beef was with Joel, it ends here and you leave Ellie alone. Still a sacrifice play at the end of his life. But we hear Ellie yell out to Abby, I am going to kill you. Which is the exact same sentiment that Abby has had all this time towards Joel. You have just created your own enemy. You have created your own nemesis. Where does the cycle of violence stop? She had 4 or 5 fireflies with her. And for the most part, they were really kind of like, I don't know, I'm not okay with this plan. One of them, he's like, I'm down for whatever. But now you have the devastation of what just happened to Jackson, and them rebuilding. Dina and Ellie are about to show up with this group of people, this group of survivors that took out and killed Joel. Ellie saw enough on their backpacks and stuff to be able to probably track them. Where is the line? Where does it stop? I looked online as well about how do you recognize and break the cycle of violence. The internet says a lot of things, and a lot of people have the surefire, these are the 4 methods. These are the 6 methods you need. These are the 11 things that you need to recognize. And I'm sure that a lot of that is good information. But at the end of the day, a lot of it's conjecture. People throwing stuff against the wall, see if it sticks. The one thing that they are absolutely right is, if this is happening to you in your life, there's a cycle of violence and you recognize it, you need to get help. Do not play with that. Get help. Professional help. I don't know what that means to you. The police, a therapist, a preacher, a teacher, someone who can help you. No one deserves to be abused. And even though violence is so prevalent in our community, we would go out of our way to save guns over people. Hell, we'll save pets over people. We'll save just about anything over people. We still have to recognize that if we want to stop violence, we want to break the cycle, we're the ones that are going to have to do it. And I don't advocate for you to try to do it alone. But at some point, it falls on you. I'm pretty sure that I piss my kids off regularly. And I don't put my hands on my kids. Have I threatened my kids? I have. Because they've done some stuff that make me want to put some hands on them. They might need some hands putting on them. And that way I'm a traditional old school black parent. I absolutely believe that my kids need to be raised with a healthy amount of respect coupled with a healthy amount of fear. I'm the parent. I'm the adult. When you get grown and get your own house, you can start making rules, doing what you want to do. Now, I rule my house with love first. Fairness and understanding. I'm not opposed to a conversation. But again, I'm not your peer. That's not what we're doing. You can't have me fund your life, be your personal Uber, your personal chef, your personal ATM, and then talk to me any old kind of way. You have made that completely up. And it's not even about me comparing what I do to what my parents did. It's a completely different time. There's social media and cyberbullying and all these other things, 24-hour television, all these things that I didn't have to deal with when I grew up. I was already about to be grown or on the way. I was really close when they started doing 24-hour television. When I was a young man at the end of my teenage years when social media stuff came into play. What these kids deal with is something completely different. And I have to be a different parent. You can't be a 80s parent in the 2020s. Doesn't work. And hell, the parent you were last year might not even work this year. You have to change and adapt because your kids are. And this is not just about you and your kids. This can really relate to any relationship you have. But you have to be the one who's willing to put your foot down like I did about my father and say, no mas, no more. I'm not willing to do this to get these type of results. Because as much as I want my kids to respect me, as much as I want my kids to have a healthy fear of me, don't try me. Because everything I do, I sacrifice and put everything on the line on a daily basis for y'all. But what most is important is that my children love me. That they know love. The one thing I didn't hear from my father growing up, I heard it plenty from my mom. I did. But I tell all my kids, my boys, my daughter, that I love them daily. You have to know I love you. And I mean it's not just words. I am here. You know, and it's dealing with teenagers is a battle in itself. But if something were to happen to me today, I think that if I left this earth, my kids would know that they were loved. They were respected. They were valued. You know, and I can look back and say these are things that I didn't feel when I was growing up. Will that stop the cycle of violence in my family? Maybe. But you gotta start somewhere. This is Rakai Steed, Noob from the Ville. Make sure that you like, share this video as much as possible. Make sure to leave me some comments about the cycle of violence. And you don't have to get too personal if you don't want to. How maybe your family, maybe other situations you've seen or even been involved in. I like reading the comments and sending you some replies. And if for some reason you haven't subscribed yet, it's not too late. Hit the button, subscribe, so that we can do this on a more regular basis. Everything I watch, I use this. But more importantly, I use this.